The latest on 9/11. You ready? Now, this comes from Press TV, and Press TV, who runs that, right? But Press TV is quoting an American scholar, James Henry Fetzer. You know who he is. He lives in Madison, Wisconsin, but he's a retired professor at University of Minnesota, right? Now, he's a real person. And he has said over and over and over again that it was an attack planned in this country. I mean, he doesn't mince words. Anyway, he now is saying, and this was on Saturday, 2 days ago, that Dick Cheney was in charge of the September 11th operation in the United States, in charge of it. He made the remarks in a phone interview with Press TV on Saturday while commenting on the release of dozens never before seen photos from the day of the 9/11 attacks. Some of them are online, and these photos are in the war room, and you can see that Dick Cheney is firmly in control, and that George Bush is over in the corner playing with his putts or something. George Bush didn't know what the hell to do. Cheney did. Fetzer said, quote, "The release of these photographs brings back many memories of 9/11, which was brought to us compliments of the CIA, the neocons, the Department of Defense, and Mossad." He went on to say Michael Ruppert published a stunning book entitled Crossing the Rubicon that laid out the evidence, many proofs, that Dick Cheney had been in charge of the events of 9/11. He went on to say, "A fascinating story was told to the 9/11 Commission, but not included in the book. Norman Mineta, then the Secretary of Transportation, who was in an underground bunker beneath the White House with Dick Cheney, Norman Mineta said that an aide had come up to Cheney and told him, 'Sir, it's 50 miles out.'" They're referring to this plane that was heading for D.C. "Sir, it's 50 miles out." And then, "Sir, it's 40 miles out. Sir, it's 30 miles out. Do the orders still stand?" At which point, Cheney whipped his head around and told him, "Of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary?" Fetzer said the orders had to be not to shoot the plane down, the one that was heading for D.C., because shooting down the plane would have been the obvious thing to do. You would have lost the plane and the passengers, but not the property and the personnel that were the targets. In this case, it was the Pentagon. That's what Cheney wanted to happen, and he got it. Fetzer added, quote, "What is remarkable about this is that the order to not shoot down was for a plane that flew toward the Pentagon, but then passed over the building at the same time explosives were set off in front of the Pentagon." Ooh, really? "That was part of an elaborate charade to mislead the American people into the false belief that 19 so-called Islamic terrorists under the control of a guy in a cave off in Afghanistan had been responsible. It was very cleverly orchestrated," end quote, Fetzer added. He went on to say this, Fetzer did, "Diligent students, including members of Scholars for 9/11 Truth, which I founded in December of 2005, have continued to dig and dig and dig, and it's very clear that the key players in this event included Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, General Richard Myers, Rudy Giuliani, Larry Silverstein, and other members of the Zionist community, especially in New York," end quote. We'll be back. So, I'm just curious what you think. It seems like a topic from so long ago, doesn't it? I mean, 9/11 truth. What? What's that? What's that? Who cares about 9/11 truth? Really? But what is galling to me, and I mean this from the bottom of my rancid little soul, is that the sons of bitches got away with it. They did. They committed an act of mass murder here in the United States and then went on to commit war crimes. And they've gotten away with everything. Gotten away with everything. Absolutely no justice, no truth, no reconciliation, no anything. Um, and probably never will be. That's the part that is so horrifying to me. You know, Dick Cheney eventually will die. His rancid body will just collapse on itself, in on itself. So will Bush. So will all of them. And the truth will go with them. You know, I've often had fantasies about putting members of the Bush crime family through the same rigorous questioning in various sites around the globe that cab drivers from Afghanistan and sheep herders from Pakistan were put through in order to find out, you know, the truth. I wonder how long Dick Cheney would undergo so called waterboarding before he would start screaming the truth. I wonder how long Condoleezza Rice could stand being hung up by her wrists where her feet barely touched the floor before she would start screaming the truth that her interrogators wanted to hear. No, seriously, that's how twisted my mind has become. I really do think of that stuff. That's what they did to other people. They authorized everybody in the Bush crime family signed off on it. And how do I know that? Because none of the sons of bitches resigned. They knew what was going on. If this was something that was vile and filthy and rotten to them, to any member of the Bush crime family, any of them, any appointee, any cabinet member, if any of them would have found it offensive or unconscionable or criminal or something they couldn't tolerate, they would have resigned. But they didn't. They knew what was going on. They knew exactly what was going on. Sorry. It's a topic we're not supposed to talk about anymore because it's just been worked to death, right?